To ask you, in your own personal capacity, should race be a factor in law school admissions decisions? The question is a yes or no question.
I am here in my
Yes
capacity.
or no, should race be a factor in law school admissions decisions?
I am here in my capacity.
Because according to the ABA, it should. The ABA has said explicitly that they have a long history of supporting consideration of race in law school admissions. Is that your testimony, that law schools should continue taking into account race?
Representative Gill just exposed what he saw as a major contradiction in the ABA's position on diversity and race-based admissions. The ABA repeatedly emphasized diversity and inclusion, but when Gill asked direct questions about representation and whether race should play a role in law school admissions, the answers became anything but direct. Gill kept pressing for a simple yes or no response, arguing that Americans should be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. But instead of a clear answer, the witness repeatedly pointed to legal precedent and broad principles of diversity. That's when Gill made his frustration clear. If the question is so simple, why was getting a straight answer so difficult? The exchange highlights a growing debate over whether institutions are applying their principles consistently, or using different standards depending on the issue. Subscribe for more explosive congressional exchanges and political commentary.
Ms. Binky, let's pick up where we left off before. The mission statement on the ABA's website states that our legal profession is enhanced when judges resemble the cultural groups that make up American society. How many Supreme Court justices have we had in American history?
I could not tell you over the...
It's about 116. Do you know of those 116, how many of them have been transgender?
I have no idea.
Do you think there might have been one?
I have no idea.
Is it fair to say that there have been no transgender Supreme Court justices in American history?
I honestly have no idea.
You don't know?
I have no idea.
You study the law, don't you?
We do not study the personal attributes of individual justices.
Is there a Supreme Court justice in American history that you think might have been transgender?
I have no idea.
You have no idea? Well, I think most people can assume that there haven't been any transgender Supreme Court justices. I hope that we can agree at least on that basis. Would that be okay to proceed under that assumption? Okay, I appreciate that. So transgenders haven't been represented on the Supreme Court. Do you think that it's important that the next Supreme Court justice be transgender?
The ABA does not subscribe to any particular quotas.
I'm not asking about a quota, I'm asking about representation, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
The ABA supports diversity in all of its forms. And
have transgenders been included on the U.S. Supreme Court?
The ABA supports the full spectrum of diversity.
Do you think that it's a problem that the transgender community has never had representation on the U.S. Supreme Court?
The ABA believes in diversity, equity, and inclusion as...
And I'm asking you about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm asking you about inclusion of the transgender community.
We believe that people ought to bring their entire self to whatever role they're serving.
You're refusing to answer my question. Do you think that it's important that we have a transgender Supreme Court justice?
I believe that it's
in order to include that community.
I believe that it is always important, the ABA believes that it is always important to support and encourage diversity.
So we should have a
inclusion.
transgender Supreme Court justice?
Diversity has many forms, and we believe that...
Do you think that you're not answering in a straightforward way? Do you think that's because of your own implicit bias?
I believe that I'm trying to explain that the ABA does not set quotas and does not believe that...
Do you have implicit transphobia?
The ABA believes that diversity in all of its forms is important and helps the profession more globally.
Okay, we're going to move on. Should Americans be judged by the color of their skin or the content of their character?
Discrimination is never appropriate, sir.
So do you agree that Americans should be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin?
Yes, I would agree.
You agree with that? Should a law school consider an applicant's race when making admissions decisions?
The Supreme Court has indicated that...
I'm asking you if they should. It's a normative question.
Discrimination is never appropriate, and...
So is it your testimony that law schools should not consider applicants' race when making admissions decisions?
The Supreme Court has said that you may not take race into account.
So you don't believe that race should have any role, yes or no, in a law school's admissions decisions? Is that the position of the ABA?
The ABA is not responsible for admissions.
I didn't say it was. I'm asking you if you believe, and if it's the position of the ABA, that race should not be a factor at all in a law school's admissions decisions.
The ABA takes compliance with the law seriously.
I didn't ask you that. It's a really simple question. I'm asking you, let me just ask you in your own personal capacity, should race be a factor in law school admissions decisions? The question is a yes or no question.
I am here in my
Yes or no, should
capacity-
race be a factor in law school admissions
I am
decisions?
here in my capacity.
Because according to the ABA, it should. The ABA has said explicitly that they have a long history of supporting consideration of race in law school admissions. Is that your testimony, that law schools should continue taking into account race?
The Supreme Court indicated that diversity is a laudable goal, and the ABA supports diversity in all of its
This is
forms.
embarrassing for you. You ought to be able to answer this in a very straightforward way. And with that, the time is up.
Sir, I have 3 UCs requests.
Go for it.
Thank you. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a July 2026 article from Kerner News, North Texas families and the summer food programs they rely
Without
on
objection?
are feeling the sting of inflation.
Without objection. All right, and we're going to skip closing because we've got votes now. So in closing,